Today's collection selection is one that is near and dear to my heart, and I've only had it for less than 24 hours. This is the Greg Lightfoot Element. Feast your eyes. Greg Lightfoot is a legendary knife maker in the tactical folder world. His career started in the early 90s, and I had him on my podcast, and we had a great conversation. He's a hell of a guy. Oh no, I didn't see that already. He's a hell of a guy, and I asked him to make me an element. He ordinarily makes knives with very exotic materials. You'll see a bolster with zirconium and mammoth ivory or whatever. He just does some really exotic stuff. And that isn't exactly where my tastes lie. I love the look and the design of these knives, of his knives. But I'm more of a tactical guy in terms of materials. So I asked him to make me an element. This is this model name, because I absolutely love that blade shape. And I really dig the handle shape too. But in any case, I asked him to make it out of micarta, and he did a beautiful, beautiful job. That's not surprising, of course. Like I said, this just came to me less than 24 hours ago, and I haven't been able to put it down. Look at that grind. Check out this little peninsula of steel left from that flat once he ground in that swedge and that power tip. Look at how thick that tip is. And yet, it's extremely thinly ground. This is a hollow grind, and it gets really thin behind the edge until right about here, where it fattens out. It's still very sharp. You can open up that kind of, you can cut through some pretty difficult material with that. One of my standard testing materials is the sort of slack cellophane you'll get on a meat package. And if you just put the tip in and glide the tip around the periphery of the plastic, it gives you a good indication of how keen that edge actually is. And this one passed with aplomb. Anyway, this is 154 or CPM 154, and I forgot to ask Greg what this coating is. It's not sure if it's PVD. I will have to find that out. This will be showing up in many more videos, no doubt, and I will fill you in on all the details. I just called him when I received it breathlessly to tell him how awesome it was and asked him a few questions, but I forgot to ask about the coating. It goes around the outside of the blade, the spine, and the grinds here, and down here up on the flipper. This handle is the most ergonomic, most comfortable handle like ever. And if you're interested in actually using this in any sort of way, this handle really gives you positive engagement with the handle. It's not going anywhere. If you're swinging it around, if you're making impact or contact with materials, this bird's beak and the overall general sort of pistol grip shape of that blade is going to hold it in your hand. It's going to stay in your hand without any issue. And of course, micarta is grippy as hell and gets even grippier when wet. And also the angle at which the blade presents itself when you're in saber grip like this, it's already, it's hard to talk about. Okay, so you've seen my videos before. You know I like this angle, when the handle comes up and then the blade is angled out in a different way. It presents the tip at a much more natural orientation when you just hold your hand out. And this knife does that. It's got these two awesome little jimps that really, really hold my thumb in place without being gnarly on the thumbs. And it's got bearings. And listen to that detent. Blade just flies out. So in speaking with Mr. Lightfoot, he mentioned how his designs are very inspired by sharks. It's right in the logo there. You can see that. But this thing really does look like a shark to me, and I think maybe that's why I gravitated towards this design so much. I've always had an affinity for sharks. It was like the first thing the first subject matter I took on seriously as an artist at the age of, whatever, 10. Just drew sharks all the time. Prided myself on knowing them all by sight. And this, to me, is very reminiscent. Look at that. Even the flipper tab looks like a pectoral fin. This is, I don't want to say it's tight, but it will break in from here. Look at that pivot. It's cool anodized titanium pivot. I think it's anodized. I know it's heat treated to get that black color. And then the Chad Nichols Damascus clip. I'm usually a pretty straight ahead kind of guy with clips. I like spring clips. I like just kind of plain clips, but this is just so beautiful. It's pretty much, except for a really cool blade my mom got me a couple of years back, it's the only Damascus I have. And this knife is really starting to force me to think about getting more handmade work. And I don't know if you can tell from just looking, but this sucker is chunky. It just fills the hand like no other knife I have. It really, it also fills up the pocket, but size and weight have never been prohibitive issues for me. As a matter of fact, I like small knives in theory, and I have a number of really nice little small knives that I'm aiming to sell off because I just never carry them. But I know that this sucker is going to get some serious pocket time. Incidentally, in reverse grip, this thing is a dream. It feels amazing, like this perfectly shaped handle for capping with your thumb, which is what I like to do. And the choils and swales are all in the right place, and it almost has a karambit-esque feel with this recurve portion of this sick blade shape. Love this thing. So this is my first custom folder. I have a custom fixed blade by Attention to Detail Mercantile, Douglas Esposito. He will be coming back on the podcast shortly to talk about his transition into folders. But boy, I'll tell you, man, this thing is so beautifully made. Look at how that steel lock bar insert is so nicely nestled into the titanium locking leaf there. That's all fit and then heat treated after, apparently, if I got that right. All right. So there it is. It's the Greg Lightfoot Element, custom made to my desires. And man, thank you, Greg. This thing is such a beautiful, beautiful piece. I'm so happy and honored to have it in my collection. And I think it's signaling a sea change maybe in what I'm going to start doing. We'll see. It's so hard for me to part with the knives I already have, but you know, if this is the kind of thing I have to look forward to in being disciplined and not just buying every cool knife that comes down the pike, then it's worth it. All right, I've gone on too long. Well, no, I haven't, but I'm going to make another video on this, comparing it to other knives in terms of size and shape and such. But until then, let this hold you. Thanks very much.